Hi, I am Don Levitt, owner of Nautiques.net, which is the world's largest online source for ocean liner memorabilia. Now, if you love ocean liners like I do, you love deck plans. People who don't love ships call them ship maps, but we all know they're deck plans. I want to just give you a 10-minute history of deck plans over the years. And this is the Guion Line's Montana, and on front they have a little color lithograph. You can see the ship has sails with a little smokestack in the middle. And because of the sails, it didn't have any superstructure on top, so the decks are all inside, and there was not a whole lot of space. So this is what you got, just a few cabins, and you can see on this that the toilets were out, you hung over the back. So very early plan, would not be a particularly comfortable ship to sail on. This is Cunard's Scythia from 1875, and you can see by now, cabins are a little bit better. There's a ladies' sitting room. The ladies could get away from all the men when they were smoking their cigars. Cabins are pretty tight, a salon, and then it looks like there are a couple of they're not indicated as bathrooms, but a couple of places where there are little holes against the side, and I guess that's where you use the facilities. So these wouldn't be very comfortable ships to cross the Atlantic in. Look at. By the time the turn of the century came, ships became much grander. Now here's a deck plan from 1908 for North German Lloyd's Kaiser Wilhelm II, and this was one of the first super ships. And we'll open this deck plan for the Kaiser Wilhelm II. This deck plan comes from 1908. And the Kaiser Wilhelm II was quite a bit of a bigger ship. And in her time, she was also one of the fastest and largest to cross the Atlantic. So you can see in this deck plan, there are all sorts of possibilities. You've got all these beautiful public rooms up top. The cabins are still kind of crowded, but not too bad. And a big fancy dining salon. And they've really gotten down the technique of having a tissue deck plan. Very lightweight, so it was easy to mail. And they could print lots of details. So you could really get a good view of what the ship would look like. And of course, you'd pick out whatever cabin you would want. And us, of course, today, if we had a time machine, we would always want to go to the best first class cabin. We'd never be booked way down below in like steerage facilities. So I would always pick someplace in the middle. It would be a nice, big, spacious cabin. Now, when you get to the post-war, World War I era, for example, here is a deck plan of their famous Bremen from the ship took its maiden voyage in 1929. This plan's from the very early 30s, and you can see the Germans, besides having good printing technology, had good folding technology. So this thing, to open it up, you go that way, and let's see, then you go this way, and I think then maybe you go again that way, and then you just keep ongoing, and off it goes, probably out of camera view, but the ship was just massive. Lots and lots of really cool cabins to be in, beautiful promenade. And the thing that I always found interesting about the Bremen is that up top, up here on the upper promenade deck, it had a shooting gallery. And at the end of the shooting gallery was some poor person's cabin. Now I imagine that has got to be probably the worst cabin ever put onto a ship, because you got some crazy guy after a couple drinks and rough seas shooting his pistol off, banging against the sidewall, and you're trying to sleep while you're ducking bullets. Now this plan is complicated to get back together. You gotta fold it that way and this way, and I don't know if that's right. Okay. That one. Here's a great plan from the late 20s, actually early 1930s. And this is for White Star's Britannic. And their corporate owners at the time, called International Mercantile Marine Corporation, and they had the same sort of deck plans that they used for all their ships. It opened up into this wonderful big picture, and then from there, this is where it gets tricky. It unfolds, and almost everybody who got these plans back in the day missed that fold up. So most of them, if you find one, they're going to be ripped right here because they're trying to unfold it the wrong way and they miss this really cool part. But see, once it's open, then you get all these great pages of deck plans showing all the great cabin spaces with matching up with cabin photos. So this is one of the classic deck plans of all time. And I love these big IMF ones. Because people rip those so much, here we have a deck plan for the Britannic, made a little bit later in the 30s. Full of beautiful, detailed photographs of what things looked like. Beautiful public rooms, swimming pools, and then just great detailed look at the ship. Here's all the public rooms, and then a really nice look at the cabins with furniture placement, which is the way that, of course, God intended deck plans to be made. And this is also one of the beauties. This was pretty typical of the era. Lots of nice detailing, color coding, so you could figure out where your cabin was. And that sort of design continued right on into the post-war era. Now here's a favorite deck plan of mine. This is of the SS United States, and it's from the early 1960s. And in this plan, they show all three classes with lots of beautiful color photography of what the public rooms look like. And you can see, you open it up, you see the beautiful first class dining room. You can get a look at some of the upper decks. Here's the beautiful array of first class public rooms. And then here is the upper deck and the beautiful suites. Now, if we go back in time, we are going to stay in these suites right here, which is upper deck 87 through 91. And that's the famous duck suite where the Duke and Duchess of Windsor would stay. They were favorite passengers on the ship. So as long as they're not occupying it, you and I, that's where we're going to stay. So the deck plan era continued on. Here's one for the Sagafjord. Beautiful ship from 1965, Norwegian America line. And when you open it up, you can see, maybe not as pretty with color coding, but it's got all the great array of public spaces with furniture. The cabins are there, so you can really tell what it is that where you want to stay. And it's a great plan. Now, just a few years later, Norwegian America line introduced their Vistafjord. And oh my gosh, and this is a shocker. This is what you get. All the detail is missing. And to me, this was like the start of the downhill in deck plans. No furniture placement. Who knows what a purple cabin is compared to a red cabin. It's sad. This was the dying end of the deck plan era. So if we fast forward today, what we end up with, for example, here's a Cunard Line brochure from 2005, and here's a deck plan of the Queen Mary II. And if you unfold it, you can see today all we get are these long, skinny outlines with some color coding, but God knows what's in the cabins, what they look like. And for real deck plan lovers, this is like just the worst thing ever. So that's what we're stuck with today. And of course, these were always in the back of big brochures, very hard to find regular deck plans, like in the good old days. So that's a 10-minute history of deck plans. I'm Don Levitt, the owner of nautiques.net. Be sure to visit my site and sign up for my weekly newsletter where you can find out all the latest and greatest in ship memorabilia. Thanks for watching.